I usually don't talk about it at Story Slam because I like having a job, but I work in home shopping. Recently, as you all probably know, a few weeks ago, Joan Rivers passed away. And Joan Rivers used to work at the place where I work, which I won't actually name. I do stand-up comedy on the side, and I really like stand-up comedy, so I should just say that at the beginning. So I was very excited a couple of years ago when I got the chance to work with Joan Rivers. Our channel was putting on a show, which they've done for a few years now, on the weekend before the Oscars, and it would take place in LA, and it was like our biggest event. All our biggest sort of celebrities would come, and then other celebrities would come and walk the red carpet, and there was sort of a party, and it was a big to-do. And Joan was always at that event, and she would always sell her jewelry or her scarves or whatever it was that she was selling. Well, in the build-up to that, I was put in charge of making a show open for that, along with some commercials for that, just different things that we do to promote the show on air. And to do that, they wanted Joan Rivers to voice over, well, they wanted an interview with Joan Rivers, and they wanted Joan Rivers to voice over the script for that open. So I wrote that, and it got scheduled that earlier in the day, I was going to shoot with Heidi Klum, and then later in the day, I was going to shoot with Joan Rivers. Now, I like Heidi Klum, but I was actually way more excited to work with Joan Rivers because I'm one of the few men that will probably ever say that. Few straight men that will probably ever say that. But because she was a stand-up, I really like that. And also I'm like obsessed with late night television and late night talk shows, and she has a lot to do with The Tonight Show and in her own show, and just she's always been a big part of that. So it was a big deal for me to be able to work with her. So I worked with Heidi Klum. We won't talk about that. That happened. And then Joan came in, and when Joan was 79 when I started working with her on this, and when Joan came in at age 79, she made you ashamed to be like as tired as you were, no matter what your age was. She just would like storm into a room, just there's all this energy, and you're like, well, I don't know why I was complaining about my back. The woman's been up for hours and is just getting stuff done. She storms in a room. She was really nice to everybody, and she starts answering questions for me, and that was pretty simple, just questions about the red carpet. But then she read the script. She had to read the script, but I think it was the first time she saw the script, which the PR people should have given it to her ahead of time, but we won't talk about that here in this story. So she starts going through the script and making notes, and there was a moment, and the cameras recorded this, and it was a big deal for me, where Joan says, "Who wrote this copy?" And I hesitantly said, "I did." And she said, "This is good copy." And it's the best thing that's ever happened to me. It was so good. That was my own personal heaven. It was so good. And the cameras recorded that, which is great because I have that video clip that I can just play for myself. So that happened, and she read it, and that was fine. So then a year went by. So this past January, we had to do roughly the same thing because that went really well. People were like, "Hey, why don't you do that again?" Because that's what corporate America does. Hey, that worked. Do it exactly the same, but better and also cheaper. I had to write another open for Joan. So I wrote an open for Joan, and this time I had to interview her about movies and whatnot. So I don't think Joan remembered me. She meets a lot of people there. I don't hold that against her. But anyway, she came in same way, like you go get Joan at the green room and you walk her over to wherever you're shooting, and she says hi to everybody there, like all the maintenance workers, everybody. She just says hello to everyone. People like after Joan passed away, people told all these great stories about her, where Joan would just take stuff out of the green room and give it to people. Like a friend of mine was her producer for years, and it was her birthday, and Joan just gave her the flowers from the green room in the vase. It was like, "Here, happy birthday." And when she would leave, she would take the M&Ms out of the green room and give them to the security guards and be like, "Here you go, guys," and just leave. And it was just like a thing she did. And apparently she did that with jewelry along the way, but we won't talk about that either. I love her for it. But anyway, so it was kind of like a big deal to be walking through the building with Joan. So Joan came in to do the same thing again, and she read through another open. She complimented the copy again, not quite as well, but it was still a big moment. But then what happened was we had given Joan a bunch of questions about like, what's your favorite movie? What's the first movie you ever saw? And Joan had prepared a bunch of jokes. 95% of which were not appropriate for our television channel. And there were like seven of us in the room. So I would ask the question, like, hey, Joan, what was the first movie you ever saw? And then she would do like 8 different jokes about the first movie she saw. There were many of which were so offensive. She's like, I know I can't say bitch, and different things like that. You're like, yeah, you can't. And we just all laughed for like, I don't know what it was, 10, 20 minutes at just Joan doing joke after joke that she knew was only going to go to those of us that were in the room. And that was like another sort of heaven experience for us. So it was really sad a few weeks ago when Joan passed away because she was really that awesome to work with, I thought. And I don't know if there is a heaven. If there is a heaven, I'm guessing Joan Rivers is in it. And I'm also guessing that if there is a heaven, that I hope people get to feel the way I did that day that she complimented my copy when they are in heaven. So that's my story.